Viv, nice to see you again. Welcome to Budge.com. Obviously, we are launching our 2026 World Cup auction. And beside us here, the iconic shirt worn by the captain that day, of course, in the infamous Hand of God match against Argentina, 1986. Tell us your memories of that day, if you don't mind.
Got great memories because I wasn't even involved. There was a squad of, say, 20 odd players, and the surplus went into a box behind the stand. So if you looked at the pitch to the left, so it's furthest away from the Hand of God. It was a great experience. I would never swap it, you know. There's a lot of good players there. I was injured when I first went, so that's one of the reasons I think I wasn't involved. But yeah, I've got fond memories of that game, I must admit.
Yeah, and then obviously we've sold your collection just a few months ago, and obviously the famous, the first black player with that story before. So you obviously created your own bit of history as well back in the international game.
Yeah, well, yes, a number of years ago it was, yes. So, yeah, I was very fortunate to become the first black player to play for England. And obviously Laurie Cunningham was the first under-21 international, and I ended up being the first full international. So I'm very honoured, very privileged.
Yeah, indeed, absolutely. And, we were talking about, obviously, it was the World Cup sale. World Cup memories, what's your sort of, give us some of your tidbits back in the day?
It was very, very hot that day, I must admit. We were, as you said, I was at the far end, so we couldn't see what happened. So the first goal, and I thought the time was a perfectly good goal. It's only subsequently when you look at the reaction of Peter Shilton, Terry Fenwick, they all ran to the goalkeeper. So we thought, from where we were, that something had definitely gone off. We didn't realise to what extent till we got in the dressing rooms after the game.
Yeah. VAR back in those days, a whole different thing.
Yeah, could have done with that, didn't you?
And there was no question about the second goal, kind of special.
No. It was absolutely, because as I said, I was behind his goal and I seen it start and turned, and he turns Peter Beardsley.
He didn't mention that in the interview. He bypassed that one.
He did it. Well, I bring it up every time I see him. But yeah, he goes past two, and then he goes past Terry Fenwick, who was on a yellow card, so he couldn't really bring him down. And then he goes past Terry Butcher and obviously does the shimmy on Peter Shilton. And I remember standing up in this box with all these other players and just going like that. That's the best goal I've ever seen. In the flesh at the time.
Absolutely. And also here we've got Norman Whiteside here as well, obviously a teammate of yours.
Yeah.
We've got his shirt coming up, obviously youngest player. He beat Pelle's record by a number of days to play in a World Cup.
Yeah.
And obviously we just discussed, telling us about it this morning. So the mile in there is that number, that white shirt, kind of iconic as well there.
Absolutely, yeah, fantastic. And what was he, 16? He beats Pelle's record.
He was 17 and 42 days, I think it was.
That's
at the
right,
time. So so beat him by a good number of days. So.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's not a bad looking shirt sort of thing. So, Nick, you got some questions for us?
I have. So what would be your all-time favourite World Cup moment?
66, winning it. I remember coming back, I was playing football on the park and walking back, thinking, there's nobody about. Why is nobody about? And I realised it was the World Cup final. And I'm going back and catching, I missed the first 10 minutes or something like that. So that was iconic to me.
And just over your right shoulder's Alan Ball's shot there, the red one from that particular day. So
yeah.
Involved in the sale.
Oh, what a fantastic player he was. I remember playing for Forest against Southampton, and he was playing for Southampton. And you just could never get anywhere near him. He's the best one-touch player I've ever seen. He was that good.
If you could describe the World Cup in one word, what would that be?
One word. Fantastic. It's an iconic thing. To say you'd won the World Cup is just the best thing you could ever do as a footballer, in my view.
Yeah, I think even
it's like the Wimbledon, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the pinnacle, as you say.
It is the pinnacle of any sportsman's. You know, you can win the Champions League, which I'm very fortunate to do, but to win the World Cup and the World Cup medal, and we haven't done it since '66, so even more so.
Is there one player that stands out for you then in the World Cup?
Him, Maradona, that game. I mean, he won that World Cup in '86 on his own. I know it's hard to say that really, but he had other players, but he was just absolutely unplayable. I remember the Belgium game. He scored in that game. He beat about 3 players. I mean, he was just sensational.
we're talking to Peter, and obviously the Maradona shirt's behind you on the board. He was rooming with Stevie Hodge. He was telling us, and obviously after the game, he showed Peter the shirt, the blue number 10. He didn't want to know about it. He didn't want to know about it. He was obviously just been hired at the World Cup sort of thing. So
We didn't know he'd got it. I didn't know he'd got it till on the way back to the hotel, or maybe that night. So we didn't know he'd got it off him at the time. So, but he was sharing with him, so he must have got it out and showed
he
him.
just sort of in his bed. Sort of thing. He was so disappointed. Like couldn't care.
But Hodgie rang me about 5 years after that, and he said, "What do you think I should do with this Maradona shirt?" I said, "Where have you got it?" He said, "It's in a vault in a bank." I said, "You've got to get it out of the bank to disintegrate in a vault, you know, no air to it, anything else." And then I think he put it in one of the museums or whatever, and then he went on from there.